If you have gotten a nudge from the Holy Spirit to start your business, but you don't know where to begin, then I want you to stay until the end of this video, because I'm going to give you some KIP tips. Get it? KIP tips. That's the name of my company, KIP Tutoring Service, LLC. KIP tips. Anyway, I'm going to give you some KIP tips on how to jumpstart your business. But before I do, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and share this video. So I started my business back in 2011. And I'm not going to go into depth about how I started it or why I started it, because my sister told me that I talk too much in my videos and I need to get like straight to the point, because her attention span is too short and she don't stay to the end. So I'm just going to get down to the nitty gritty, and then I'm going to make a part 2. And that's where I'll talk about my journey as an entrepreneur, the mistakes I've made and the successes I've experienced. Okay. But KIP tip number 1. Okay, make sure that you identify a problem that you're passionate about solving. When you are starting a business, okay, you cannot make money your primary motivation or focus. Okay, anyone and everyone that's in business, we all want to make money. All right, so don't make that your focus. All right, all of us are in business to make a profit. Okay. Think about a problem that you want to solve. Think about a need that you want to meet. So with my company, for example, the need that we're meeting is the need to help students, right, fill in gaps, okay? As a former public school teacher, I know that teachers are limited in time, they're limited in resources. And even though they may identify a student in their classroom that need extra support, a lot of times what they're giving them inside of the classroom simply isn't enough. And so my company helps to fill in that gap, right? Helping students to reach their maximum potential, but also lending a helping hand to our educators who are bound by time and limited resources and can't really give students the help that they want to give. All right. So make sure that you identify a problem that you are passionate about and a need that you want to meet. All right. KIP tip number 2, identify your target market. All right. And saying that anyone who wants to buy your product or anyone who wants to, pay for your service, that's your target market, that's not going to work. All right. Because again, you're focused on making money, and making money can't be your main priority. It can't be your main motivation for starting your business. And let me tell you why. If money is your main motivation, if it is your primary force, right, your primary driving force in doing business, eventually, right, you're going to give up. Eventually, you're going to let it go. You're going to let it fall by the wayside, because something else is going to capture your attention. Something else that is more profitable, something else that is going to be easier to do. Right? So that's why that can't be your main motivation. All right. You need to identify your target market. Who are you trying to sell this product to? Who are you trying to provide this service for? In my case, my target market are students who are kindergarten age to 12th graders. Okay. I'm not trying to tutor no one who is in college. And I'm really not trying to tutor anyone who is pre-K or younger, right? So I have identified my target market, all right? And don't allow anyone to convince you to operate outside of that market. You can have a goal to eventually reach those people. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? But we're talking about jump starting right now. So you got to think about, who are you ready, right, to market to right now. KIP tip number 3. I would encourage you to consult with professionals. All right. There are going to be certain things that you need to have in place before you actually start your business. All right. You're going to want to register your business with your state. And if you don't know how to do that, you're going to want to consult with a professional. All right. If your business requires workers right away, okay, then you're going to want to consult with a professional to help you to classify those workers correctly. Because according to the IRS, one of the major mistakes that new businesses make is misclassifying their workers. All right. They may classify them on their taxes as independent contractors when really they're supposed to be identified as W-2 employees. All right. So you want to make sure that you're consulting a professional with that in mind. All right. When it comes to filing your taxes at the end of the year. Now, you can try to do that on your own, but you might want to speak with an accountant, a tax professional that can give you some advice or who can actually work on that for you. All right. But there are just certain things that you want to make sure that are in place before you start your business. Last but certainly not least, tip number 4. Just do it. All right. Just do it. What I have found is that a lot of people will get bogged down in the details. They'll start working on their website because they feel like I need to have that up before I get started. They'll get bogged down in, trying to get their stationery together, trying to get their letterheads together, trying to get, their logos together. They'll get bogged down in trying to get their promotional materials together, like business cards, postcards, right? They'll get bogged down in trying to get their merch, right? And they do those things until they don't actually start the business. It reminds me of a poem that I use for instruction with my students, and it's called I Practice, right? And the gist of it is the speaker practices the piano and practices every opportunity that they get. And then at the end, they never actually perform. They spent all that time practicing, but when the time came for them to actually perform their piece, they never did. And so for many business, I'm not even going to say they're business owners because they haven't even started, but for many with the idea of starting a business, that is what delays them, is getting lost in the details. Just start. Just start where you are. You may have a goal of selling whole outfits, of designing outfits and, selling them, right? Start with shirts. Start with t-shirts. For me, right, it was tutoring. I didn't think about anything else. I just wanted to tutor. And so that's what I started doing. And like I said in part 2 of my video, I'll talk to you about how tutoring has now expanded to other services. But when I started, I wasn't thinking about those other services. I just knew I needed to start tutoring. And so I started with those around me, relatives, friends who had children that were in that target age range that I was working with, right? Just start where you are. And as you're working, right, as you're doing, you'll figure out your processes. You'll figure out what works, what doesn't work. You'll be able to fine tune. As you're working your business, right? Maybe you can work on the website at the same time. Maybe you can work on your, letterheads at the same time. You can work on those things while you're doing the business, but you want to just start. And so these are my kit tips. See, kit, tutoring service, kit tips. So these are my kit tips for jump starting your business.